Bernie Sanders was asked about Wall Street's love of Kamala Harris. Let's see how he handled it.
If Wall Street breathes a sigh of relief with Kamala Harris being named to the ticket, what does Bernie Sanders do?
Well, Bernie Sanders does everything that he can to defeat Donald Trump, who is undermining American democracy. Donald Trump was lied to the American people repeatedly on every issue. Donald Trump, who was not supportive of continuing and maintaining those $600 supplementary checks that workers desperately need, or the $1,200 checks that many working families need. Donald Trump, who wants to throw 32 million people off the health insurance that they have. Donald Trump, who does not even recognize science in terms of the pandemic or in climate change. So what Bernie Sanders is going to do is do everything that I can to defeat Donald Trump, to elect Joe Biden. And after the Democrats have control of the Senate and the House, and Joe is the president, we're going to do all that we can to mobilize people for a progressive agenda. But this is not a complicated issue. Donald Trump must be defeated. Biden must be elected. And after that election, we're going to do all that we can to fight for a progressive agenda.
Yeah, I don't love that answer. First of all, what he just did is called a red herring, where he's asked one thing and he just talks about something kind of unrelated to the direct question. I mean, you're asked about Wall Street breathing a sigh of relief because of Kamala Harris, and Bernie goes right to Trump bad. Now, does that mean he can't make a Trump bad argument? No, of course he can. And you can make a Trump bad argument that's relevant to the question that was asked. But he didn't really answer it that way. So, listen, in my opinion, you got to denounce it up front. You got to denounce, the fact that Kamala Harris is a favorite of Wall Street up front. Denounce it. Hey, I'm against Wall Street. I'm against their money corrupting the system. It's a bad sign that Wall Street is comfortable with Kamala Harris, and every Democratic candidate, whether it's for Congress, whether it's for the Senate, whether it's for the presidency, they should reject corporate PAC money and Wall Street money. Start with that. But no, it was skip that part, no denouncing, and go right to Trump bad. And then, by the way, we're at the point now in the election where if Bernie were to do the denounce up front, a lot of people would accuse him of helping Trump. Even if he immediately followed it up with, but Trump is worse, a lot of people would still say, no, that's not good enough. You have to actively downplay, deny, disregard, override, ignore the fact that a Democrat does bad stuff. And me personally, I don't agree with that. If you have to hide the truth because you think the ends justify the means, you have no real principles. You always have to put the truth first, and then you could draw whatever conclusion you want and make whatever argument you want, but the truth has to come first. And the truth is, yes, Wall Street is very happy with Kamala Harris because she's very likely to do their bidding. That's the truth. Now, the other issue I have with this is he makes the point, as he's done before, hey, listen, day one, when Biden's elected, we're going to fight him as hard as we possibly can. I think this is incredibly naive. It's incredibly naive. Guys, I hate to break it to you. Biden is going to govern the same way he has his entire adult life as a neoliberal corporatist. That's how Biden is going to govern. Now, you need to acknowledge that, and then you can maybe make an argument that you prefer neoliberal corporatism to Trump's right-wing authoritarian corporate neoconservatism. Accept the facts as they are and then make your mind up. I don't like this thing now where progressives are basically lying to themselves and everybody else when they say oh, we'll elect Biden and then on day one, we're going to mobilize and push him left. Because he actually, and this is Bernie's biggest problem, he actually flipped it. He has no idea how power works. Because when Bernie had power was when he had leverage. When Bernie had leverage was when he was still in the race. Now, yes, it was overwhelmingly likely at a certain point that Biden's going to win. It's just a matter of time. Do you think Joe Biden and his team, do you think they would have wanted to run against Trump when there's an opponent who represents 40% of the Democratic base who's not going along with him for the ride? No, Bernie did have leverage. Bernie could have gotten quite a few things extracted out of Biden and his team, but he didn't. What did he do? He basically bent the knee for nothing ironclad, nothing specific. It was all like, okay, let's take our points of agreement that we nominally already have and highlight them in a thing where I endorse you. Listen, I said this early on, and, I wish this was something that was a little more widespread and, a bunch of people picked up on it, because I think the idea was basically, it was everything for the left. But if I was Bernie Sanders, if I was in his shoes, maybe when he decided to step down, instead of just stepping down, you have a meeting with Biden and you say, listen, man, there's some things you're going to have to do if you want me to campaign for you, if you want me to support you vociferously moving forward. Here's a list of 10 executive orders. I want you to commit to doing these within the first 100 days. If you do, I'll do everything I can to get you elected, and I will do my best to make sure that my base, 40% of the party, comes along. If you don't sign on to this list, I don't know what you want me to tell you. I'm not going to campaign for you. Now, am I going to come out? Am I going to endorse nobody? Am I going to endorse Trump? Of course not. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? I'm just going to sit out the election. I'm just not going to try to get you elected. I'm just going to sit on the sidelines. That's what I'm going to do. And people can cry, people can bitch, people can moan, people can tell me I'm a terrible person and I like Trump and blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I care about the issues. I care about these things getting implemented. Now, do I think that there's any chance Biden would have said yes to like Medicare for all being on the list? Of course not. And so I wouldn't have put Medicare for all on the list. But what I would have done is put 10 executive orders that it's conceivable he would agree to that are amazing left-wing ideas that are super important. And instead of doing that, Bernie basically just bent the knee and didn't get much out of him. So this is my problem with what Bernie's doing here. He's lying to himself and he's lying to the progressive base when he says like, oh, after Biden gets elected, well, we're gonna push him left or whatever. You ain't pushing him anywhere. He's gonna be a neoliberal corporatist. That's who he is. You can make an argument that that's better than what Trump is, but make that argument. You can't say, oh, we'll elect him and then we'll try to push him left. He's not going left. He's not going left. Get it through your head, he's not going left. The only opportunity you actually had to push him left was when you had leverage, when you had power, when you hadn't fallen in line yet. What incentive is there for him to do anything for you after you already bend the knee? You're already there. You're already locked up. Now, by the way, what would have happened in a situation where Bernie takes 10 bomb executive orders and says, listen, I need you to do these for me to support you? My guess is, and this is, I admit up front, this is all speculation, because you never know. We don't live in this alternate timeline. But my guess is Biden would have came back and he would have said, listen, man, we're going to cut a deal. We're going to make it work, but I can't do these 10 executive orders. I can only do 5 of them. Or maybe I can only do 3 of them. And here are the 3 I'm going to do. And then Bernie comes out and he holds up a piece of paper and he says, listen, we tried our best in this election. We didn't end up winning. But I want everybody to know the left will be heard. Our voices will be heard. And Joe Biden just promised he will sign these 3 executive orders within the first 100 days. Very important things to the left, right? And he could have held that piece of paper up and said, all of my supporters, you vote for Joe or you're leaving these things on the table. Is that what you want to do? You want to leave these things on the table? Then he would have had an argument and he would have said, listen, I had leverage. I used it. I got something out of it. Instead, now there's nothing. It's, we got nothing, but vote for him. And then I'm also going to act like we'll push him left after he's elected. No, the opportunity to push him left was when you had leverage, when you were still in the race, when you could have actually gotten extractions. Now you can't get extractions. It's embarrassing because either he has no idea how power works, or he does and he didn't care that much, and he would just still prefer Biden even if Biden does no progressive things. I like to think the better interpretation, the better scenario is he just doesn't understand how power works. But listen, guys, I don't know how else to say it. Everybody knows this. I love Bernie. I was his biggest supporter. You know, we were all on cloud nine after he won the Nevada caucus, and it looked like he was just going to curb stomp his way to victory. But things went wrong. Things went wrong, and then he squandered his leverage, and so I have to keep it real with you, and I have to tell you what should have been done. So, listen, ultimately, I wouldn't have a problem with him pushing for Biden with a certain set of facts and with certain guarantees. But he didn't get those guarantees. So now I feel like when I see Bernie say stuff like this, you got to call it for what it is. Yes, he is basically overlooking or covering up Kamala's, connections with Wall Street because Trump bad. Which is basically, the parody, the caricature of the run-of-the-mill Democrat who's willing to overlook all the flaws of Democrats because Trump bad. Well, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be like that. You could both totally acknowledge that Trump is every bit as bad as they say, while also holding Democrats accountable. And I don't see that from Bernie now. I don't. I see him being rah-rah team, and it's embarrassing. And it's not the Bernie we know and love. And I get it. A lot of you are going to watch this segment and you're going to go, I'm being too hard on him. Am I? I'm in the segment. I'm talking about how much I love Bernie and how important he is and how he opened the eyes of so many people. I know he's doing what he thinks is the best thing. So I'm not going after his intentions. His intentions are pure. And anybody who does question his intentions, I think they're dead wrong. He's proven himself over the years that he's always going to do what he thinks is the best thing. But I disagree with him as to exactly how to go about this. And now the rift is getting bigger and bigger. You can't even denounce up front and just be like, yeah, no, there's no excusing that. Wall Street being happy because of Kamala. That's not okay. Can't say that and then say Trump bad. It's just disappointing.